I want to tell you about the top 5 problems that I've come to find on this Ford Transit-250. We're going to start with a gauge cluster problem. Maybe you hop in the vehicle, you put the key in the on position, and you can see the gauge cluster start to jitter a little bit. This might make you think that you have an issue with the gauge cluster, but you might not. This is most likely a battery voltage issue. Now, the battery is in a strange location in these vehicles, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. But let's first talk about the battery voltage. You should have approximately 12.5 volts on your battery. Now, this voltage needs to be read by the BCM, or your vehicle's computer. If for some reason the battery voltage is low and the BCM notices it, it's going to start giving you some clear signs. You may have your door open and the dome light tends to flash. When this is happening, it's letting you know that the battery voltage is low and you definitely want to check it. Now, this can semi-easily be done by carefully finding the battery located under the driver's seat. It's not actually under the hood. Surprise, surprise. Now, as far as checking the battery voltage, you can do that by sliding the seat, but if you had to replace it, you actually have to remove that seat and you can slide it off to the side. It's fairly simple overall. Continuing talking about starting related issues, we're underneath the vehicle and we're next to the fuel tank. Inside of the fuel tank, you're going to have a fuel pump sending unit. Now, if you had an issue with this, you may find that you have a no start condition. You may find that you have a long crank condition where the vehicle either starts and stalls out or it just doesn't start at all. Or you could be driving down the road and the vehicle conks out on you. It just stops running. Any of these can be symptoms of a bad fuel pump sending unit. Now, something you could easily do if you're in a safe area, you'd want to make sure you put the key in the on position 2 clicks without the vehicle running and listen outside of the vehicle. We want to try to listen close to the fuel tank. If possible, we're listening for an audible humming noise. That would be coming from the fuel pump. Typically, this is only going to be for a couple seconds when you're attempting to start the vehicle. If you do not hear this, you might have an issue with the fuel pump, and if you need it, we've got that as well. Now, we're under the hood, we're looking along the top of the engine. Specifically along the top of our plastic intake, this is where we can see our EVAP canister purge solenoid valve. The responsibility of this valve is to regulate the amount of vapor making its way from inside of the fuel system and the EVAP system. Those vapors are going to be making their way up to the engine. This valve needs to be able to open and close as necessary. It's regulated by the computer itself. Now, if this valve was stuck closed or in the open position, you may find that you have runnability issues. You may find that the vehicle doesn't want to start or it has a hard start scenario, and this would typically be right after you fill up the tank. Aside from that, a check engine light that pops up on the dash, if it tells you that you need one of these valves, it's super easy to replace. Now, while we're under the hood, let's continue on talking about runnability issues. This vehicle actually has 4 VCT solenoids. They're going to be located under the valve cover, 2 under each. These solenoids are responsible for changing the timing of your engine. This is going to be done on the fly, and it's done by oil pressure. So you can imagine if you had an issue with the oil pressure, maybe you haven't been keeping up on that maintenance, the oil level's low, or the viscosity is getting thin because you haven't been changing it. Either way, it could change the pressure, and when this happens, the VCT solenoid can't do its job. If I find that I have a check engine light on and I have a runnability issue, the first thing that I would want to do would be to pull the code. If it tells me I have an issue with this, I'm going to try changing the oil and the filter. I'll make sure everything's up to par with the right oil, and then I'm going to reset that light and take the vehicle for a road test. Now, if this fixes it, great. If it does not fix it, you're going to have to make your way under the valve cover. The replacement's really not that difficult. Now let's talk about rear brake related issues. This is something that's common on these vehicles. Now, of course, each one of your brakes will have a brake caliper. I have them out on the bench here. During a service procedure, you're going to remove the caliper from the bracket and remove everything from the bracket. When you start removing things, you're going to find that the slider pins will actually look a little bit different. You might not even notice it if you're not paying attention. One of them is going to be a little thicker than the other. And then another thing would be one of them will also have a vibration dampener. It's like a little rubber bushing. Now, if you were to switch these pins in the bracket, things might start binding up a little bit. When that happens, the brake pads can't move the way they should. It's going to wear at an angle. And now, of course, you're getting premature brake wear. This is why you might hear that scraping noise. This is a fairly simple thing to fix. Obviously, you'd want to take things back apart, switch those slider pins. If there is any damage to the brake pads or those brake rotors, you're just going to have to replace them all again.